Hello everyone, my name is B.O.B. and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. And are you looking for a cheap and easy to build mob farm? Well, this isn't it. This is my flying machine powered mob farm. And if I'm honest, it may or may not be worth building. It's very expensive, and I wouldn't say its rates are any better than your typical water flush mob farm. But there are some advantages. One advantage is it is possible to get Endermen in this farm. Uh, if I'm honest, I've only ever gotten one, but I mean, there's enough room for them to spawn, and since there's no water, there's no reason for them to teleport away. So it's a definite possibility. Another advantage to this farm would be it could really be built to any size. We're using flying machines to sweep those mobs off their spawn platforms. So, I mean, those flying machines can go as far as your simulation distance. So you could really build this farm as big as you want. Uh, the last advantage is there's no water. And, well, no water means it could be built here in the nether. And this one might look a little bit different than the one we were just looking at, but it is basically the same farm on the inside. I just made some different decorative choices. And of course, the kill trap is a little bit different because, well, we're not going to use fire to kill nether mobs. Now, from here at the base of the farm, you can hear it's quite noisy, but if we take a little peek in our chest, this is, I don't know, probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours worth of running. Uh, so, I mean, not terrible, not spectacular. This farm could be built bigger, and I think there is probably still some, like, perimeter cleanup that I could do. I kind of just did a quick job for the purposes of the tutorial. But if you look, we got 5 wither skeleton skulls, so, I mean, it's producing. And back here at our overworld farm, we got mobs rolling in aplenty right now, but I just turned the machine on, so there was a collection in there to all get swept out at once. But we could take a look in here and see what kind of drops we're getting. Of course, you're getting plenty of the normal stuff, your flesh, your string, your spider eyes, because you can put out these campfires and hit the mobs with a sword, use it as an XP farm. You could put a trident killer at the bottom of this thing if you wanted. I just didn't want to get more technical than I already did. But then this little gap here with the glass and the lava, this is just kind of to take care of spiders. You know, because spiders can climb back up these tubes. So we put a little gap in there, put some lava in the corners. Spiders get burnt up when they cluster into that gap. Now, before we get into materials and things, I want you to take notice of this great big square of bedrock I have all around me, and I am flying right above my mob farm here. Now, I put this great big pad of bedrock in because bedrock is not a spawnable block. And basically what I've done is just eliminate any spawnable blocks within the spawn radius of right below the farm. So basically mobs can only spawn between 24 and 128 blocks from the player. I actually just put a 180 block perimeter around this thing, and that kind of covers everything. Uh, but and, you know, of course, I put carpet on the roof to make sure there's no spawns up here. You could torch spam it or do that with slabs. You know, that part really doesn't matter. But what matters is eliminating all spawnable blocks outside of your farm. That is the best way to get the maximum rates out of any mob farm. Now in this chest you're going to find just some of the materials you're going to need for this build. I'll just kind of put in the necessities here. I didn't really include all the building blocks you're going to need. You're gonna need a lot of them. But some of the things you will need is at least a double chest for a collection. Actually, in a mob farm, your storage tends to fill up pretty quick because you're getting a lot of non-stackable items. So you might want to go more than just a double chest, but I'm just doing a double chest for the sake of the tutorial. You will need at least 4 hoppers. And I am putting 4 campfires on top of each of those hoppers. Now this is really just for the overworld version of the farm. You wouldn't really need this in the nether version. Uh, kind of the same goes for the lava and the glass panes. That's all in relation to a spider trap. That's another thing you wouldn't really need in the nether version of the farm. Just for the mob conveyor, you're going to need at least 44 regular pistons, 84 observers, one lever, 60, well, not really 64 torches. You're going to need a bunch of redstone torches and a bunch of redstone dust. These aren't exact numbers, and you probably won't need a whole stack of either of them. It's just safer to round up in these matters. You will need at least one comparator and 5 redstone repeaters, and these are just to kind of send your signal all throughout your farm. The only listed build material I have in here is glazed terracotta, because that is a necessary material in this build. You won't need this much of it, and it doesn't have to be all different colors. It could be whatever color you choose, and you'd likely only use like a stack or two, and then you could build the rest of the farm in some other building block. Now in this chest I have just laid out what is needed for each individual flying machine that is going into this farm. I'm going to be building 3 in the tutorial here, but you could build it as many as you like. Of course, you'd have to work out how to push all those mobs into one area. Maybe you could use a cross flying machine sort of pattern. However you want to do that. Like I said, I'm just going to build a single story mob farm here, just 3 flying machines. Now, whenever you're building 2 flying machines side by side like this, you kind of want to alternate between honey blocks and slime blocks. So I'm going to build 2 of my machines out of honey blocks, 1 out of slime. So these other materials I'm going to multiply by 3. Uh, but realistically, I'll just need 20 honey blocks and 10 slime blocks. Um, Again, I rounded up on the redstone. You might not need a total of 64. Actually, I think it is like 60 in this part of the machine. But yeah, I'll just multiply the rest of these by 3 in order to determine how many materials I'm going to use for this particular farm. Okay, now I did not map out an area for this build, but the base of it's going to be a 4x4 area, and then of course the farm itself is going to kind of be up to you. But to get started, I'm going to go ahead and put in my collection chest, and then I want 4 hoppers feeding into the back of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. And then we kind of want to pillar up around this, so we're going to bring some solid blocks up all the way around just like this. And we should be left with this shape here. Now we want to count up 10 blocks from this block right here. So this will be the first one actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then go ahead and pillar up that high on each of these corners. Next, come back down here to the bottom, and just above the closed in ring, we want to break out these corners. And I know you just placed them back in there, but we're going to put another frame across the top right here. And then we want to start working in our glass pane. So what we want to do is on each side we put 1, 2, and then bring that out. And then we kind of want to wrap it around the outside of the corner on each corner. So all the way around the outside. Then when we get to the side again, we go 1, 2, bring it out, wrap it around the outside of the corner. Now, of course, you could have used iron bars here if you chose, but I just went with glass pane, so that's a cheaper option. But what you want to do with your lava now is this block on the inside of each corner. You want to go ahead and place 1 bucket of lava inside each there. Now, that's going to be our spider kill trap. for the event that they fall down and then try and climb back up, they won't be able to. Again, if you're building this in the nether, you won't have to worry about that. You won't have to worry about the lava or the fireplaces we're going to put in next. So what you want to do is just crouch place fireplaces on top of each one of these hoppers. Uh, the reason I like these fireplaces, you can just put them out with water, stand down here and whack the mobs with a sword to collect the XP, or the fireplaces could kill the mobs automatically and you could just kind of AFK at it. I mean, obviously a trident killer, you could get the XP while AFKing, but, like I said, I try not to go too technical with this. Now we want to kind of close in the rest of the chute we have here. Now you could do this in all solid blocks if you want. I'm going to work in some glass just for some decoration. But really, it doesn't really matter. And there we go. We got the bottom half of our drop chute all set up. Of course, you got the 4 empty blocks in the center here leading all the way down to those fireplaces. And this is when we start to get a little bit powered. We want to start working in our pistons. And we're going to do that off this floor here. Now, I recommend coming off to the side from where you have your chest. But, I mean, really, it doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and just build out 2 blocks off of just the one side, and these are just going to be temporary. Next, I want to come up on top here so my back is kind of towards the drop chute. And on this end block here, I want to place an observer, and then right beside that one, I want to place another observer, so that's also in line with your drop chute. And then we want to step up off these observers, so we're going to place another block here, and place 2 more observers. And then you want to continue stepping up, just like this, until you have 11 sets of observers in this pattern. And when you're done, it should look a little something like this. Now we can go ahead and break away all these temporary blocks underneath the observers. And this is the part that'll be a little tricky to do in survival mode. You want more observers facing the bottom of each one of these observers above you here. So you don't really need to place them on the bottom of these bottom 2 observers already, but we do need observers in front of those. So we want to start here. One here, 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 and do this all the way up. Then it should look like this. So we can come around here to the backs of each of these observers, and on the back of each one we're going to place just a regular piston and do this all the way up. And when you're done, you should have a very simple to build but somewhat expensive mob conveyor. But we'll power that with some redstone. What you want to do now is go ahead and build this exact same thing on the opposite side of the farm. And once you've done that, you should be looking at this right here. Now, if you're building this in the overworld, all of these pistons and things could just be replaced with some water streams. I suppose in any case you could replace it all with just another flying machine. But these, I don't know, would be faster than another flying machine. Also, I did have a model at one point that used uh, a cross-sweeping flying machine to sweep them all into a little tube like this one, and it ended up killing a lot more mobs than it did dropping because they would get stuck inside the flying machine and, well, they take damage the whole time. And I don't know, I found that the mob conveyor like this just works better if you want to avoid using water. A little bit expensive, but it's not outrageous. I mean, you can get this much quartz in the nether real quick. Yeah, it's a lot of pistons, but I mean, it's not an unobtainable amount of iron or wood or stone or whatever else you might need. But now I want to go ahead and just wall in the sides of this thing. So I'm going to come from this observer, the middle observer, all the way across to that observer. And then I'm just going to keep coming back and forth like this the whole way to the top. And I'm going to do this on both sides. Once that's done, you should have something like this. And really, you don't even have to come as far as that observer. You could just go from piston to piston. I just kind of think it looks better like this. It's more of a I don't know, organic shape, I suppose. I don't know. But what we want to do now is we want to build our spawn platforms. And these are going to be the outside walls of our farm, right at the top of these pistons. So if we wanted to add in more flying machines than what I'm doing in this tutorial, you would end up adding in more pistons. But you wouldn't necessarily want to go higher, because then the mobs dropping in the middle are most definitely going to die as soon as they land. So you would want to start the pistons lower, and I don't know, figuring out the math on that is entirely up to you. But this is just big enough for three full-size flying machines, and so it should be a 24 block space. Now what I want to do is come out on this first block here and bring this out. I'm gonna come say 10 blocks. We'll count this as the first block. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna do the same thing on this end. So that one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now that we got this giant eye shape, this actually maps out our spawn platforms. Now, if you wanted, you can make these spawn platforms a lot longer. However, these walls mark this perimeter from side to side. Uh, but yeah, the flying machines, they'll go up to simulation distance, so you can make this a lot bigger if you choose. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and fill in these areas. So now that we have this, I'm going to go ahead and bring each of my walls all the way to the end. What we need to do now is map out where our flying machines are going to be. So what we want to do is we're going to count in a pattern. So we want to lay down some temporary blocks. I'm going to just use the same block I'm building with here, but we want to go 1, 2, 3. Leave 2 spaces, then go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Leave 2 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Leave 2 spaces, 1, 2, 3. And so you should have this pattern right here. And where these openings are, we're going to build little lips, little tabs, and just bring them out 2 blocks. So go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we can get rid of all these temporary blocks we placed in. Next, on each one of these tabs, we're going to be placing some sticky pistons, but we want to alternate which side of the tab it's on. So basically we want to go here and then here. Since this one's on the left side, this one will be on the right side, and then we'll go back to the left side for this one. Now come 1 block in front of those pistons and then 1 block over and place more sticky pistons. All of these need to be sticky pistons at this point. And then 1 block away from each of those sticky pistons right in front of their faces, we're going to place observers just facing upwards, just like this. Do that in front of each one of these. Next, we want to get some obsidian, and we want to place 1 obsidian block on top of the backmost sticky piston on each one of these setups. And this isn't actually necessary, it's more of a safety precaution. You want to make sure anytime you're working with flying machines, they're not flying off into the distance. Obsidian is a great way to do that. Now, this is the general layout for where our flying machines are going to be docked. Uh, I may have forgot to mention that you do want to do this probably over where you put the chest. I mean, it really doesn't matter because there's going to be a switch somewhere around that vicinity, but I mean, it'd be more convenient if it's right by your chest, I'd think. But we can go ahead and start putting in those flying machines now. And like I said, I'm going to alternate between honey and slime blocks. So let's go ahead and put 1, 2 honey blocks here, 2 sticky pistons beside that, 2 honey blocks on top of those sticky pistons, 2 sticky pistons beside those. So we got our observers already in place to power our flying machine. This center one, we're going to build this one out of slime blocks. Do the same exact thing in the reverse pattern. And the third will switch back to the honey, go 1, 2, and of course reverse the pattern again. And those are at least the motors. Now we need to put in our sweeper arms, and we're actually going to include some solid blocks in these arms. This is why we're actually using 3 machines for this area. So this way we can cover the entire space, and we're going to cover the bottom uh, layer of blocks as well as this top layer of blocks. So we want to attach honey blocks to the honey block flying machines, slime blocks to the slime block flying machines, and since they don't stick together, we can build those side by side without worrying about our machines hanging up on one another. So what I want to do is put in some solid blocks right here, and then 3 honey blocks on top of those. So that's going to connect that to the machine. We're going to do the same thing right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that is a full-size machine in place right there. Switching to the slime now. And back to the honey for the last machine. And there they are all in place. Now we're going to have to lay out some circuitry on the back here. And of course you're going to be needing scaffolding this whole time. Maybe some dirt or something along those lines. Something you can easily remove. Uh, but to start off, we're going to kind of build in around our flying machine. So right here, this is a wall. So we don't want mobs coming off the back of that. This right here there should be a wall, so we're going to go ahead and build a little lip across the back of that. We're actually going to bring that out right up beside those pistons, and that's just kind of to help keep light levels low. We're going to put a line of blocks right in here, like so. And then same thing right here, we're going to bring that out so we're right beside that piston. And then over well, actually we can bring this all the way to the end here. And then we should have this right here. We're going to switch to our glazed terracotta, and we kind of want to just wrap in each one of these machines. So basically anywhere you can see, well, we don't want them in front of the machines, in the path of the machines, but on the outside, anywhere you can see a sticky block, you want to wrap it in glazed terracotta. So I want to put one here and go all the way across the top. I'm going to come all the way to this piston here, and then put them along this lip here. And I'll put one right there. That one isn't really necessary, I suppose, but I'll put it in anyway. And then I'm going to put one there on top of that honey block. And then we want to put them in right here as well. Uh, like I said, basically anywhere you can see a sticky block, you want to put them in. And yeah, I'm just kind of putting extra ones on the lip there. But go ahead and do this all the way across. And you should have something like this right here. Now this layer of the wall also needs to be glazed terracotta, so we can go ahead and just bring a strip all the way to the other side of the farm. And you could probably stop right there for now. You might need to fill that in further. I'm not really sure at this point. But go ahead and bring that across on both sides. Now let's go ahead and lay in the platform for the circuitry. We can fill in this area right here. Go 1, 2, and then come out 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. Do that right here beside this piston, or right, beneath the obsidian on the back of this piston. Go 1, 2, 3, and then over here, come down to the lower side right here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bring that all the way out to this same lip. We're doing the same thing over here. We're gonna fill this out. Go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you see we're reversing the pattern here. We need to come down to this block right here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's all the way out to the end. And then this one will be back to the original pattern. So you can fill this in. Go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then one block lower. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's go ahead and get our redstone gadgets, by which I mainly mean our repeaters and our observers. And we're going to put in our observers off of sticky pistons. So there's kind of an on-off switch for this thing. You're not going to want to leave it running if you're outside of the area. Those flying machines will break if you unload the chunks while they're in midair. So let's go ahead and bring this out. We're going to come from the side of this obsidian block. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to break away these first three. Place a sticky piston right there. And then come to this side and place an observer right on the face of that sticky piston. So the face of that observer is facing your farm. And then where that observer will be when the piston is extended, of course you're going to want to leave that block empty, but one block away from that you're going to want to place in two repeaters. So 1, 2, set both of those to 4 ticks. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then bring redstone line off to this side, all the way over, right up to that obsidian there, and then down a step, and then bring this all the way to the wall from here. So it's actually powering that piston right there. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that block. And you want to do this same thing on each one of these platforms, but like I said, we're reversing the pattern as we go. But I'm going to lay out these ones. Okay, now we have our auto return docking stations all in place, and we are set up to install on off switches on all of these. Now what I want you to do is these solid blocks that these pistons are on, go ahead and place just a dash of redstone dust on each of these, and these two as well. That isn't in, well, here it's kind of going to be necessary, but over there maybe not, but it will help block mob spawns. I suppose you could probably use a carpet for that one if you chose. But we need to send our signal from ground floor all the way up here, and we're going to use that same signal to power our mob conveyor. So we're going to do that by building a torch tower. For this torch tower, I'm going to just come 2 blocks off our glass ring here. Let's go 1, 2. We'll break away this middle block, and we'll attach our lever to the bottom of that, so it'll hang right over our heads there. And let's go ahead and tower up from that, torch in between solid blocks. As you can may or may not know, each torch is going to either be turned on or turned off depending on where you are in the pattern. But go ahead and take this all the way up, and you should reach about 2 blocks below the floor of your farm from here. I've reached the top here, and this top torch is actually turned on, and I don't want that. I want it to be turned off. So I could just come down here and throw the switch, and then that could be our off position, basically. So we want to bring a redstone clock off of this to power our mob conveyor. And then we're going to also use this same signal to power our pistons up here that are going to turn on our flying machines. So let's go ahead and put our clock in place. And to do that, we're going to come just 1 block off the side of this. We're going to bring this all the way over to our farm. And we want to kind of bring this over 2 blocks and then put 2 more blocks on the face of those. So that's enough room to build in our clocks. And we're going to actually have redstone paths going all the way along here. Well, redstone lines, rather. We'll step it up 1 right there, come out here, and we want to bring our line right across the face of those observers there. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Then you should have this. Let's go ahead and grab our 1 comparator and place that down right there in subtract mode. And so we want a dash of redstone dust feeding from that torch into that comparator. And then redstone dust, well, from here to here. So it should be 4 dashes right here. That should be right in line with your drop chute of your farm if you look down below there. Next, we want to bring one dash redstone dust over this way, and then take a repeater and feed that redstone dust right back into the side of that comparator. And you could put a little bit of delay in this if you choose. I like to for mob conveyors, but I really don't think it makes that much difference. I'll go ahead and give it 4 ticks. It doesn't really matter. Now these ones here, there's no need for delay. These are just going to make sure your signal gets all the way to your observers on the sides of the farms. So let's go ahead and place one repeater right there and one repeater right there. And then from here, we should be able to just take a redstone line all the way up and run them right in front of those observers' faces. And do that same thing on both sides. And if you want to make sure it works, you could come back down and go ahead and throw the switch and give it a few seconds. It'll take a little bit for the signal to travel up there. You can hear our pistons firing. You can see the backs of, or the bottoms of all of those observers there, the red dots flashing. So we know that part's working. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Now we need to send that same signal to our flying machines. So what I want to do is come from this block right here that's got our dash of redstone dust on it right beside our torch. And we're going to bring this just all the way out to the end here, sort of. And what we want to do is line ourselves up with these blocks here that have the sticky pistons on the end. So I'm going to go ahead and pillar down from here just so I can more easily find that block. And we're going to bring this over and just kind of meet those paths up. And this block needs to be a torch tower as well. So we're going to go ahead and break out these blocks in between. We'll place one torch here, and we already have our redstone dust on top of there. That's going to send the signal over to the other piston. Now we want to bring this same signal all the way over to this last circuit. So just kind of pillar across, and you should find this sticky piston right there above your head here. And again, break out the blocks in between. Place some torches on here, and that's going to tell our flying machines when to turn on and off. Of course, we don't want to turn them on yet. We don't have our return docking stations just yet. We want to make sure we get those in place before we try that. But we can go ahead and finish running our redstone line. I like to bring redstone dust all the way up to right here and then put in a repeater. And you don't need any delay there or anything. But from that repeater, you can just run a redstone line all the way across this platform here. And then that'll turn those torches off, turning those torches on, extending your pistons, telling your flying machines to go. Let's go ahead and get our return stations getting put in place. Now, sort of like we did on the other side, we want to start off by building little tabs, and you want to make sure those little tabs are aligned with the motor section of your flying machines. In other words, where the sticky pistons and the observers are. So you want to come out 1, 2. Oop, not there. 1, 2. Do it here. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then over here. 1, 2. 1, 2. And we're going to go ahead and put in sticky pistons on these as well, like we did on the other side. Now you want to make sure that the sticky piston that is furthest back, that's going to have the obsidian block on top of it, you want to make sure it's aligned with the sticky block on the center part of your flying machine. So in this case, that honey block there. So we want our sticky piston here. The slime block is going to be on the other side. So we want our sticky piston on the other side of that tab, and then reverse the tab here, reverse the pattern here as well. Same thing with the other side of the farm. We also need pistons up front here to help return the machine. One block to the side, one block away, just like that. Go ahead and place those at each of these tabs. Now we want to go ahead and get our obsidian, and we want to place them on these backmost pistons, once again, just like we did on the other side. Again, not really necessary, because these pistons alone should be enough to stop the flying machines. They're already at their piston push limit. But yeah, anytime you're working with flying machines, it's a good idea to have an immovable object to stop those flying machines in the event of a worst case scenario. But now we need to kind of get our flying machines over here so we can uh, build around them. And now that we have our obsidian in place, we can do that. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm just going to throw this lever one time. And I'm going to wait a minute. As I come up here, we should see our flying machines sweeping right across the farm. And of course, they're going to stop right where that obsidian is. I'm going to go back down here and throw this switch so we don't have all this excess noise. And we just need to build the same sort of return circuits on this side that we built on the other side, only this time we don't need a power function to remove those observers. We can just leave them in place, but I'm going to place them in last because I want to build in all around these flying machines before I send them back to their original dock. Uh, but to start off, we're going to use some solid blocks. Same thing with the other side. This piston right here, well, we're going to fill in the sides. 1, 2, 3. We want to fill in all the way across here like this. Put blocks all the way across here, and here again. Bring it out to the piston, and then across here right below your sticky blocks, because that's going to be the edge of a farm. And you could, oh yeah, bring it all the way to the corner if you choose. Next, let's go ahead and put in the tabs for the return circuits. So you can fill in these blocks, 1, 2, bring it out. Well, oh yeah, we'll come from here. Well, yeah, it doesn't really matter. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oops, right here. And then down here beside, remember this little piston's down here. So we want to bring this one out to match those. Should be 5 blocks. Let's go ahead and do that on each one of these return stations. And, of course, reverse the pattern on as you go. So, 1, 2, we'll go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 block lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing over here. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's go ahead and get our return circuits in place. At least as far as the repeaters, we're going to leave a space for the observers for now. So let's go 1, 2. Go ahead and set them all to 4 ticks. And redstone dust all the way around. All the way to that block there. Go ahead and do that on each of these 3 tabs. So now that we've got all the redstone except for our observers in place, I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to wrap our machines in our glazed terracotta the same way we did on the other side. Just anywhere you can see a sticky block, go ahead and place a piece of glazed terracotta on it. Of course, not in the path of the machine, but anywhere outside the farm. And now that we've done that, we can put in our observers and send those flying machines back home. So we just want to basically place an observer on the back of each one of these pistons here. And that'll send that machine off as you place it. And now here you're going to want to do some framework around the outside of these walls. I mean, this is going to be letting a lot of light through, and you don't want to let a lot of light through in a mob farm. So I like to just kind of fill in everything. We'll just kind of go like this around the outside here. I'll come up from this block and across. Make sure you don't place in front of the observer there. You want to leave that block empty. But we will bring 1 block here, and I like to place them on top of the redstone dust below there. We'll bring that everything up level with our top floor here. And do the same sort of thing over each of these tabs. Remember, don't place in front of the observer, but do build over top of it to help close it all in. And now we can bring these structure blocks all the way across to the other side and build this all in the same way. Wrap it all in, fill up everything that's going to expose your pistons or your observers. This one you might want to take extra precautions on because these observers are not going to be here most of the time. So it's going to be letting light shine through your flying machines. And it's not a lot of light. But again, mob farms, you want to keep the light levels as low as possible. So it wouldn't hurt if you brought these particular lips out a little bit further than you did on the other side, just to keep everything, all the light levels low. However, do not have a block right here. Whenever the piston retracts, it could send a signal back into the redstone and it could break stuff. So yeah, refrain from doing that. You could build it on this side, that's fine. Yeah, just don't place one right beside that observer. But go ahead and fill in everything all the way across the top of your machine. Now you can go ahead and just finish wrapping that around the outside. And we just kind of need to put a lid on it. So you want to use solid blocks for the overworld version of the farm. Obviously, because you want to keep light levels low. But basically, you could just spawn proof the top with like carpet or by torch spamming. Slabs would work, but you want to fill in from this block all the way over to this block, which is a solid slab of blocks. Okay, so I've covered every open block in carpet, and again, you could use slabs or just light the area with torches. It would probably be easier. Do make sure you spawn proof the pistons. Mobs can actually spawn on top of pistons like that. It's weird. I didn't think they could, but I witnessed it the other day. Make sure that you get these little lips above your observers here. You're going to want to spawn proof those areas. I guess technically these blocks beside the observers don't even really need to be there. And then on the other side of the farm as well, any exposed lips, anything that kind of sticks out, you're going to want to make sure you have carpet on top of that so you don't have mobs spawning on top of your farm. But as we got close, you can hear some mobs inside there. I don't know if you can hear that over the video, but let's go ahead and drop down to the bottom here. And these are slime that jumped off at the beginning, so let's go ahead and get rid of those. Let's go ahead and turn on our farm. And down come the mobs. And now when you're using fireplaces like this, sometimes like the baby zombies, they can get beside the fire. The witches won't get killed. They'll just kind of stand in there. So you'll have to come in and kind of hit them with your sword. But they will have already taken some damage. Well, all the mobs will have already taken some damage. You can see they just keep coming now. But that was like the initial build. I mean, they will spawn pretty consistently. But in order to get higher rates, you'd probably want to build a bigger farm than this. The one I displayed at the beginning of the video was actually 2 floors, so double this size. Same thing with the nether fortress farm you've seen, was 2 floors. You could build many floors, and you can build these floors as long as you want. And you could get pretty spectacular rates out of this if you properly prepare your area, by which I mean make sure you spawn proof the radius around where you're going to be standing while you're using this farm. And that, my friends, completes today's tutorial. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please remember to hit that like button. And if you're interested in seeing more from me, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for watching and wish you all a wonderful day!